Welcome to the Hope Natural Health Podcast. I'm Dr. Erin Ellis, your host. On this show, we discuss all things health, hormones, and happiness with a little side of this thing called life. Dr. Shivani is an Ayurvedic practitioner, an expert in fusing Eastern and Western practices that help our bodies achieve equilibrium. She completed her master's in Ayurvedic Sciences and her PhD on turmeric. Her passion is teaching at-home remedies to reduce inflammation naturally, which helps you enjoy more energy, less brain fog, less pain, and ultimately achieve vibrant health. Dr. Shivani has practiced Ayurvedic medicine for over 20 years, and her approach is to show you the tools in your toolkit so you could reach for them every time you need them. She is also the founder of Fusionary Formulas, an Ayurvedic company that helps people with inflammation and pain. I'm super excited to bring this form of medicine that aligns with naturopathic medicine and getting to the root and treating naturally to the podcast. So welcome, Dr. Shivani.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, before we dive into Ayurvedic medicine and why you do what you do, tell me a little bit about your background and how you got here in the first place.
Yes. So like most people in health and wellness, I had all my own health struggles. I grew up going to India every year, and I always had different health issues. I'd be disastrously sick. And finally, by the time I got to college, I realized, you know what? I need to take ownership of this and figure this out for myself. And I really began advocating for myself. So I started, telling my parents, look, we need to find a different way, a different approach. And luckily, because we were in India, I went on this journey and this quest, and I realized Ayurvedic medicine has so much to teach us in terms of gut health, in terms of how we care for ourselves, our self-care, our circadian rhythm. And there's so many aspects to it. And those pillars of health can be very powerful for all of us. So it was my own health journey. And I grew up in a family that was diabetic. And so I got to see what the after effects of diabetes are on an entire generation. And I decided that buck had to stop with me as well.
Yeah, I love that. I was just talking to a previous guest about how we all start doing what we're doing from our own personal journeys or a family member or something like that. And it's so awesome because we can easily relate and, practice what you preach. So it's a true testament to health in general when we've, walked the line, right? So let's dive into what is Ayurvedic medicine and how can utilizing it improve our longevity?
So Ayurveda is this entire system of health, healing, and medicine from India that's over 5,000 years old. And it encompasses these different areas, such as the self-care we can do on a daily basis that will help detox the body and support overall health. We teach a lot about gut health and how there's this digestive fire in us, and supporting that fire is supporting our longevity and our health over the long haul. We teach a lot about sleep and circadian rhythm and how living according to a circadian clock will help us build a rhythm with nature so that we are in flow with nature, and thus it's much easier to build vibrant health. Then we teach about super spices, super herbs, and how those different super spices can be those new superfoods that we incorporate into our lives to drive down inflammation, drive down any oxidation that's happening, and support us over our longevity. And then we also teach a lot about the sattvic diet and how to eat a diet that's nourishing, whole, balancing, and supportive to our tissues, as opposed to causing inflammation and causing damage to the system. And then finally, we teach a lot about how to bring self-care, meditation, yoga, and your dosha, your individual mind-body constitution in, so that we can bring body, mind, and spirit into alignment. That's our goal, is that alignment.
I love that. What was the diet that you said?
We call it the sattvic diet. It's SATTWIC. It basically means like the yogic diet. Eat whole, real foods and eat food in the right proportion for your own health to be balanced.
Oh, okay, cool. When you mentioned it, the super herbs and the spices. So let's talk about the big one, turmeric. You have your PhD with this spice. So let's tell us all about it and how it can improve our health.
Sure. So I was doing my master's in Ayurvedic Sciences, and in the herbology class, the teacher was going over how turmeric is anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. And then she talked about ginger and coriander, which is cilantro, and fennel seeds and Cuban seeds and all these things. And I sat there and I thought, I live in America. Like I grew up in Texas and Florida, and we don't think of spices like that in the West.
Mm-mm.
We think of spices like you use some basil, you use some oregano, and otherwise it's salt, pepper, or crushed red pepper. It's kind of basic. And I thought, wow, but we also spend a lot of time trying to eat superfoods for like our, spinach and goji berries and maca and matcha. And like, I didn't like any of the superfoods out there that I heard were good for anti-aging. And I thought, well, I am Indian and I always eat these spices. Let's see here. And so turmeric, I ended up doing an entire dissertation on because it is so powerful for our health. It's anti-inflammatory so significantly that it's being studied in tens of thousands of clinical papers published on the benefits. We have double-blind placebo-controlled trials for many different issues, especially in terms of chronic joint pain. So it's such a powerful anti-inflammatory that you can replace your NSAIDs, which is great. So people can really make a natural choice when it comes to their pain. It's an antioxidant and it reverses oxidation in the body. So those things that are oxidating us, it goes after those things and stops the oxidation. Then it's also antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal. It does so much. It's also anti-aging in a lot of other ways. Anti-obesity, kills off cells that don't belong in the body, goes after those, kills off zombie cells that accumulate as we age and infect and cause damage in us. I just fell in love with turmeric and realized, okay, what if all of Western medicine offered us turmeric whenever we were in pain instead of offering all the stuff they're offering us? Would we have a different world? And so that's been my world for the last 10 years. I couldn't find a turmeric I liked, and I ended up creating my own, and it's used in orthopedics, rheumatology, functional medicine, and my goal is to bring it into all of the systems.
Oh, I love that. So talk a little bit about that you couldn't find a turmeric that you loved. So is it something that we need to supplement with, or can you get it through diet? And if so, what sources of foods can we get turmeric from?
So turmeric is a plant, and it's a sister plant to ginger, and you can buy raw turmeric, but oftentimes raw turmeric was not used in India. That was more like a garnish or a radish. We took fresh turmeric and dried it to create a dry spice. Turmeric spice most of us buy and see at the store. And so a lot of people are buying turmeric the powder and they're putting it on their chicken and on their food. The thing is, you need to add black pepper or a healthy fat for your turmeric spice to absorb. There are benefits to using regular turmeric the spice. But what most people don't realize is out of the entire turmeric that you're buying, only 3% is the curcuminoids. And of those 3 curcuminoids, curcumin is driving the largest result in terms of anti-inflammatory. And so giving those curcuminoids in the exact right proportion as nature gave it to us and extracting it properly, so we're not synthetically trying to drive potency, we're actually driving real potency, is the key. And so I partnered with a group in India and I said, listen, I want to give the world the best curcumin. And I want to prove to the hardest to convince group on earth that they should use it. And that was orthopedics. And it was just really cool to see the result. Like I didn't even expect the result we got. But once I had it, I was like, okay, now I have to figure this out. I have to make a business out of this, like make this work so it's sustainable. So I have the runway to go talk to everyone else in all of medicine. And so, yeah, when you build for potency and purity and do third-party testing and manufacture in the US and do everything right, that's when you know you're safely driving a result for people. And that's when the medical community can trust you that you've given them a solution that they can use.
Yeah. Can you give us a little case study about how your supplement has helped someone in the orthopedic or pain relief?
So it's been in the hands of some orthopedic surgeons for over 8 to 10 years now, between 8 and 10. And so Dr. G, one of them down in Aventura, he calls me all the time and he's like, Shivani, my patient, oh my gosh, I gave it to this patient, I gave it to this patient. It helps with their knee pain, their hip pain, their back pain. They came off this thing that I prescribed for them and they're able to take yours instead. Same thing down here, closer to where I live. I'm in Boca Raton, Florida. I have orthopedic surgeons up here. They use it for post-op pain. Oftentimes the patients don't want to stay on opioids and things like that because they're addictive or they're constipating. And so patient will come on turmeric. It's a natural solution. It's going to address that root cause inflammation. and they can come off opioids sooner. And so we've cut opioid use down a lot in orthopedics for the post-op patient, which is helpful. But also a lot of people have chronic joint pain. Like they lose function in their hand, losing their function in their back, and then they can't work. And so we're able to provide a lot of support for pain relief. And then once we get that systemic inflammation down and the big problems down, then it goes after some of the smaller problems. So some people call me and say, oh, my gums were inflamed and it helped with that. Or I was sneezing all the time. I had allergies. You helped me with that. So it's really interesting to watch when we reduce systemic inflammation, that chronic, low-grade, persistent inflammation that's like this wildfire in us, how well the body's then able to heal itself, close up shop on all the problem areas, and we can just be in homeostasis. We can just live a normal, healthy, good life. We put those fires out.
Awesome. So turmeric is something that you can take, I mean, obviously for acute pain and inflammation, but also long-term, correct?
You can take it long-term, but like with any supplement, whenever you're putting a strong extract in the body, the goal there is really use it and then try to come off it. And so that's why a few years ago, I realized everyone was using my turmeric like an NSAID. They were using it like a pain reliever, and then they were leaning on it all the time. And I was like, no, wait, let's have a conversation here. We can reduce inflammation with diet, exercise, sleep. There's a lot of things in lifestyle we can shift so that we can get off the extract.
Right.
Can you safely take turmeric for a long time? Yes, I take it. I've taken it for over a decade every day, and I take a higher dose than most because it's such a powerful immune support. But do I recommend it every single day forever? No. We should cycle on and off any supplements, even vitamin D and a lot of the things we take. A lot of us take a lot of supplements every day. Take 6 out of 7 days, so take 1 day off, or take a week off every quarter. Find what your cycle is with these things that are good for you.
Awesome. So besides turmeric, are there some other super herbs that can help with longevity?
Yes, ginger's fantastic. So we love ginger lemon tea in the morning as a simple way to ignite the digestive fire and get it going for the day. We know ginger's gastroprotective, it's anti-nausea, but it's got a lot of benefits as well. It's a sister plant to turmeric, so it does a lot of great things. You can use coriander, cilantro in your food. That's going to be a heavy metal detoxer. Cumin seeds, we know, help with digestion of our foods. We use cumin seeds in their seed form. Heat it up in oil before we cook any beans, any lentils. That can be very supportive as well. There's another spice most people in the West have never heard of. It's called hing, Hing, or it can also be called asafoetida. It's a really pungent spice. Most people are like, what are you showing me right now? That's gross. But we use it in our Indian cooking because anytime you're going to cook a lentil or a bean, you want support. So it's like a pre-digestive. It helps support your ability to easily digest beans and lentils and get their benefits. And so that's why when other people cook any beans and lentils, if they don't have those spices, I'm like, I'm not touching your food. I don't want the pain. We use the right spices to support the digestive process of those hard to digest foods.
Can you tell us a little bit more behind that? Like, why would you want, so some people don't eat beans because they're like, oh, they make you, fart or have bloating or gas. So how do these herbs help reduce that?
So when it comes to cumin seeds, for example, we know cumin is anti-inflammatory in all Indian cooking. And it's interesting because you can see this in the Latin culture too. They very much lean into cumin seed oil and cumin seeds. If you heat them in the oil, they're going to release their aroma. And then that's the right time to start adding your ginger, garlic, onion, your different ingredients that you might add on top. So we create something called masala. And they have another word for it in Latin America. It's like their, I'm forgetting the name, but there's a name for it, that base of ingredients that are so beneficial. And so cumin is just one of those spices. It helps with the digestive process so that we are supported in digesting those foods.
So that is one seed oil that is probably good for you, right?
Yeah, one of the very few.
Maybe the only, I don't know.
Yeah, I've been talking a lot about seed oils because when we talk about inflammation, unfortunately, in health, we can talk all day about eat well, sleep well, reduce your inflammation. But if we're constantly pouring more inflammation on the pile, then how are we going to win? And so that's something I'm talking about a lot is like, look at your processed foods. So many of them have seed oils. It takes a lot of reading of ingredients to go find the non-seed oil foods. And that's one of those things where I consider it like, what are the foundational things I'm doing that are going to inflame me on a daily basis? And just by addressing those, I'm going to reduce the systemic inflammation. So it could be your skincare, could be your cleaning products at home, could be your cooking pans because you're going to cook in them every day. Be careful there. Drinking out of glass or metal more than plastic. That's another big one we can do. Or this one, which is seed oil, switch your oils. So in my home, it's coconut oil, ghee, butter, olive oil, or avocado oil only that we cook with.
Or cumin seed oil. But that's kind of making your own, you're making the oil kind of cooking the seeds, correct?
Exactly, yeah. We just cook with them.
Right. Awesome. So what are some simple Ayurvedic practices that one that is brand new to this, listening to it today, pique their interest, can start implementing today?
You know, a fun one I love, and tell me if you do this, Dr. Erin, do you use a tongue scraper?
So I did. I kind of go in a little like cycle of it, but yes, I have used, I have one.
Nice. Okay, so in Ayurveda, we recommend using a copper tongue scraper. And this is something that you'll do every morning. You just have it stacked right on top of brushing your teeth. Right after brushing your teeth, you gently scrape the tongue 7 to 14 times. And in Ayurveda, we teach that on the bottom of the feet, just like in reflexology, on the bottom of the feet, all the organs of the body are reflected. In the same way, all the organs of the body are reflected on the tongue. And so when you're scraping that tongue, you're gently massaging all the organs of the body. You're removing this film that exists in the body that we call ama, or toxins. And then you're also going to help your taste buds work better. So it's going to ignite digestive fire in the morning, support less constipation, better gut health overall while detoxing you. And a tongue scraper costs like $10. So I consider that like, once you save that tongue scraper, mine has lasted me like 20 years. You've got a simple detox solution for your everyday life that's simple. So that's one of my favorites from Ayurveda.
And that is, you said copper. Why copper versus, I think mine is not copper.
Steel.
And then, and then you also said, is it better to do it after you brush or before you brush?
I like doing it after I brush my teeth. To me, that's easier. I've already kind of like cleaned my mouth. Now I'm going to scrape my tongue, rinse, and I'm done. And we teach copper because copper is like an antibacterial metal. And so because it's antibacterial, it's almost kind of self-cleaning in a sense. It's not going to accumulate anything on it. You can wash it with soap every once in a while, but I just rinse mine off and it's fine.
Is there, what's wrong with the steel one? I think those are the most common ones.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing wrong with steel. It's sold in health food stores across the country. It's that, copper has a remineralizing effect. So we happen to love copper in Ayurveda. We love sesame oil with certain attachments there. But when it comes to copper, like one of our recommendations is when you wake up in the morning, have a copper lined cup sitting on your bedstand filled with water and hydrate first thing in the morning. Could do that as well. Also, it's antibacterial and it's remineralizing. So it's better to do a copper tongue scraper, but it's just fine to do a steel one as well. Whatever gets you to do the habit.
Awesome. And then I would assume some other practices would be incorporating some of these super foods and herbs into your diet, correct?
Yeah, I invite everyone to just look up an Indian recipe. Like Indian food follows pretty much, as long as it's not fried, it's following the Ayurvedic cooking style. Like we incorporate a lot more spices into our life. Turmeric is so beneficial. Ginger is a powerhouse as well. Cilantro. And then in Ayurveda, we also get into the class of herbs called adaptogens. And adaptogens help the body. For example, ashwagandha is one of my favorites. If you're stressed and anxious, it brings you down a few notches. If you're feeling the blues and low, it lifts you up. So it's like this perfect thermostat for those of us who sometimes get stressed out and have busy, crazy lives. I love adaptogens. So I have been creating teas and functional teas where we can take one in the afternoon to cool down after our workday, maybe be a nicer mom. And then a bedtime tea as like a sleep hygiene habit to give us better quality sleep and calm mind and digestive system. So I keep playing in the world of teas and herbs because the Ayurvedic herbs can be as effective in a tea as in a supplement. That was my theory. And so I've been playing with that because I think we need so much more adaptogenic support in this modern day
Yeah.
age. So many of us are high cortisol, high stress, and thus we're constantly inflamed. And so I love looking at like, how do I improve my sleep? How do I improve my stress? How do I improve my inflammation so I can win at my health? And
Yeah.
that's the sandbox I'm always creating in.
I love that. So tell us about your supplements and what you've created.
Okay, so in my supplement line is called Fusionary Formulas, Fusionary. What we're most known for is turmeric gold and inflammation relief. So turmeric gold's like a great daily preventive to get that turmeric on board. Inflammation relief I made for when you know you are inflamed, which a lot of people do know because they have joint pain or swelling or gut disruption or different issues, or they have anything itis, which means you're inflamed. And the combination of the two is a beautiful combination for all of our chronic joint pain patients. And then I started fixing sleep because I realized if we don't sleep well, we're not going to clear our inflammation. So I made deep sleep tea and sweet dreams gummies, which I use because I want perfect sleep. But I use the gummies as needed, only if I need to get myself back onto a sleep cycle, or if I'm traveling, or if I ate dinner late, or if I had a glass of wine, then I make sure, okay, well, I still want great sleep, so I'll take something for that. And then I've started creating more adaptogenic support, so that unwind tea in the afternoon, deep sleep tea for the evening. I made a menopause support tea that's been amazing for women with hot flashes and night sweats. And I'm 43, so I'm perimenopause crowd. So it keeps us more cool, calm, and collected as we go through the transition of our lives. And then I keep playing. I made some cool gummies to give us like a high dose vitamin D in 2 gummies. So I'm trying to see always, how do I give myself the solutions I need?
Yeah, I love that. And we will make sure that we have the Fusionary Formulas linked. And I believe you are going to offer the audience a code, right?
Yes, I made a special code. Dr. Erin will give everyone 15% off.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to check out these formulas too. I love teas, trying to drink more herbal remedies than, taking not a pharmaceutical, but something that's not going to support my body's natural rhythms, right?
Exactly.
Is there anything else that you wanted to share about what you do, how you practice Ayurvedic medicine, your formulas that we missed?
Sure. So I love sharing that Ayurveda is this entire system of health and healing that can support us in our daily rhythm. In this busy day and age, trying to live a healthy life, sometimes it can be hard and it can feel daunting, like there's too much to do. And so it's really about how do we habit stack simple things that each little thing has a huge leverage point in terms of our health. Something as little as tongue scraping for about 10 seconds in the morning can support constipation and detoxing and your mouth working better, and better oral health, which is better gut microbiome health. So to me, each thing matters. So I do one-on-one consultations with people. I have a 6-week group program where I drop them into all this Ayurvedic wisdom. And then I created the formulas. And my favorite health habit that I teach is called Tea Time is Me Time, where I teach everyone to grab a cup of tea, take a minute, tune into yourself, and really ask your intuition what you need, because your intuition knows the right answer. And so that retraining of your intuition to just have enough space to answer, like, how am I feeling and what do I need, can be the biggest way to support our health overall.
That is so good. You might have asked, or you might have already answered my final question that I ask all my podcast guests, but what would be your best or favorite health tip? Is it tea time is your time?
Tea time is me time is my favorite. I'm obsessed with tea. It's my savior in my day. To me, it's my anchor point where I just pause. And I'm like, everything's good, right? Have you eaten today? Are you going to take your supplements today? Do you need a walk today? It's really just that moment to make sure my day and my week are aligned to take care of me as well. Because otherwise, I think we get so busy in everything external. And we need a reason to go internal for a minute and just acknowledge ourselves.
I love that. I bet it's your favorite part of your day and you look forward to it.
I do. All day I have a rhythm. I have about 6 cups of tea. So every time I'm in between, I'm like, I can't wait till my next cup.
Oh, I love that. No, but it's so important. And especially, high performing women, moms, and, goes back to the whole, we're just a stressed out society and we never really check in with ourselves. because we're so focused, especially women, on others. And even us as physicians, we're taking care of other people. We oftentimes forget about our own health. And it's so important. We can't, fill our cup or fill others if our cup isn't full. It's like putting on the oxygen mask first, right? We need to put on our own. And it's so important. So that's really good. I love that. Well, Dr. Shivani, this has been awesome. I'm sure we could talk a lot more about this, but I really appreciate you being on the show, and we will have all of her information linked in the show notes. Remember, Dr. Erin will save you 15% on her supplement, the turmeric and the teas and the gummies. So make sure you check that out. So again, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.